Good melees paired up together. That
right.
will be the lock-ins for NIP.
How did we not get any Gwen?
Yeah, you know what? That is really surprising.
I guess we just decided, like, hey guys,
I guess they just weren't the
gonna
matchups
pretend
for it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Do you remember
well,
when
we
that
finally
sign
get
was picked?
Skarner, and Skarner is pretty
Okay.
unthreatened this game. There is no Maokai, there is no Lilia. There's a Sejuani on the opposite side, so it's going to be a Heartsteel battle. Here for NIP, I think you are more focused on getting your AD carry pick than worrying about what Doinb has on this third pick here. Just making sure that you have something that gives you skirmishing and the ability to kind of play around what your jungle and mid kind of are able to do. Okay, we are going for Orianna. So NIP, they want to play a little bit of a later game. They have a really good power spike on one item around Shanji, but I think this is a tough ask going into Weibo. You're going to get outranged. I think Orianna is going to get aggressed upon very early on by this Ahri, and then you have the Rumble on top. This is very, very troublesome.
Yeah, and the first 3 champions you see on Weibo, they don't need to play on top of each other. You can have
No?
Skarner from one angle, Ahri from another, and Rumble laughing at you in the back as he drops the red carpet on you. This is going to be incredibly difficult. This is what happens when you kind of get down to the lint in your pockets, right? And that's exactly what's happening here. Speaking of, some 80 carries are getting taken off the board. So the 80 carries as well will be a little bit more limited. We talked about maybe potentially seeing Jinx come out for leave. So I'm curious to see if Weibo will ban it.
Kalista ban means you typically don't need to ban Ashe, although it is a champion that I feel like both of these players have really, and most of the LPL in general has avoided. I know we got to see it yesterday for Elk and for Jackie Love a couple of days ago.
We saw it earlier today, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I thought so.
So
it's been a long day, guys.
yeah. Taking a look at 80 carries now, I'm still looking at these hyper carries. Like, you still have Jinx. I know that Light has always been a player that really loves to play Caitlyn, so maybe there's a Caitlyn Lux in Weibo's future.
Ooh,
you can kind of see him picking between an Aphelios or a Jinx. It's going to be the Jinx, so his first game on this champion in 2025.
All right, and we'll see what Weibo does. I love that idea. Pick a Caitlyn, pair it up with a Karma or a Lux, but instead they will go band for band on the hyper carries, and they'll look to get the Lulu on top of it as well.
Jesus Christ. Okay, we're getting a hyper carry off now because it's Zeri Lulu. Jinx what? Like, what kind of supports are we going to be able to get from ppgod? Maybe a Karma, honestly. I think Karma actually gets a lot of extended value when you're trying to play kind of other stuff. Bard is something that they can think about, especially with some of the immobile members. We have already seen ppgod go for it, but instead opting for engage here. So NIP, control around space, the ability to find one member. I think this first kill in every fight is going to matter so much just so they can get the excited proc. So that is the job that I'm looking at the solo laners of NIP to do. Whereas for Weibo, outrange them with this Rumble, set up a good enough spot where your Skarner and your Ahri are able to tank some of the spells, and just open up for Light to be able to carry these fights with this Lulu Zeri.
Yeah, should be pretty easy for Light, given the fact that he'll have tons of space to work with. Obviously, we'll be able to reposition himself in a fight with his E if needed, but this Ahri, this Skarner, this Rumble will open up so much for him. And, if I'm Doinb, anytime we're getting into a fight, the ball is on Shanji, right? Like, you could put it on the Alistar, but you're so worried about that first kill, he lands the public execution, you pop it immediately, you pop the first person you see, and try to take them out so your AD carry can go and carry the game.
And there's no one except for this Skarner that deals particularly well with the Mbessa, getting right into the back line. I think the biggest one for me is going to be watching Urha, and I think this is, in my mind, one of the most important games we're going to be seeing from Urha this early on. Because as this Lulu, the polymorph gets so much value versus things like the Mbessa and the Sejuani and the Alistar. So it is going to be up to the new support, the person that had to get called up from the LDL to bring this team more victories, to be able to lead the team and hopefully help them secure their second series win in Split 2.
Not only that, Alk, if you miss position, you die, and if you die, you make the games hard. We're on Summoner's Rift for the final game of the series.
You can see the fans getting excited, maybe a little wary after what's been happening today. 6 games. Obviously, we had to split arenas as we start in the Shanghai arena and then move over to Shenzhen. So a lot of some new audience members there, but a long day for LPL fans nonetheless. With all games going, both of our series going to 3. So early game though here for NIP. I'm going to be looking at how we are able to use Shanji going for the grass build instead of stuff like the electrocute build that we had been seeing in some other matchups. And for Breathe, can he hold his own in this lane? And again, we're kind of coming back to these solo lanes. Xiaohu and Doinb, like what forms are we going to be able to get from them, these two?
Two very classic mid laners on two very classic mid lane champions. Interesting to see if we will see any fireworks and some skirmishes. But one thing I want to talk about AlkBattery is that, you know, when you play a Jinx, you want to put all this priority on taking grubs, right? Making life easy for her to knock down some of these turrets. And I do wonder if Webo is going to invest the time with their Rumble and that strength up in the top side to try and make sure that NIP does not get their hands on these guys.
Would be nice. I think that this game, unfortunately, is going to be more focused on dragons. When you have a Jinx and a Zeri, you are so focused on just being able to hit. NIP also just have a much easier time taking structures in general with the Jinx and with this Orianna, so I will be interested to see how exactly they're playing around you know, some of these early objectives here. Aki going for a full vertical here, or just going for 3 camps into mid. Shanji?
Oh, flash! Oh, he autoed! Okay.
Oh my god.
Wasn't enough to kill. But
Flame
Breeze is the
Spitter's up,
taser gonna be
though.
up the Flame Spitter. He's chasing him down. Taser, taser, taser! Oh, Shanji.
Wow.
Just able to get away.
And Xiaohu had to burn flash in the mid lane. You saw that Aki did the same. Like Aki just did 3 camps into this gank. Tian knows. Hey, top laner can't be here. My mid has first move. We're gonna teleport in this mid. This is gonna get sloppy, boys.
Oh, here we go, baby. It's an LPL banger. Permafrost onto Tian. Doinb doesn't have a whole lot of mana left, though. It looks like just much ado about nothing in the end, honestly.
Well, I wonder if Shanji's kind of screwed now because he doesn't have flash, he doesn't have teleport, and his wave is pushing away from him right now.
Oh, goodness.
So with Tian coming in behind, they'll have vision of him here, and Aki should just be able to take this from him. Yeah, like this is just not allowed.
All right, Tian, you're being a little bit of a silly
dead.
goose here, buddy. And Doinb is going to move up too. Tian fighting off far more than he
Tian,
can do here.
what?
The permafrost and first blood goes to Doinb.
Oh man, I like okay. Literally doesn't matter what Xiaohu does here. Phase rush. I'm gonna walk away. I have red buff, so I have infinite health sustain as
Trying
well.
to stop him on red buff.
Xiaohu's trying to steal this. We're getting teleports in.
Oh
What
my
is
goodness,
going on?
what is going on? Aki going all the way in. Xiaohu able to get the kill and he survives. He gets a little bit of extra HP, but he runs away because Doinb had a red buff.
Aki, I saw it in the player cast. Aki immediately is like, hell yeah, brother, hell yeah. Xiaohu is down. We have got so many summers just to get this red buff, guys. We traded all of our top laner summoner spells, all of Tian's flash and smite combos, Xiaohu's flash as well, just to get a single buff. They're trying to be so disruptive and now potentially set up a vertical jungle here for the side of Webo. Tian gets an early peek. He's trying to make a move onto Doinb. No flash available.
Yep, and Doinb slammed up against the wall. And the charm lands too. And Xiaohu will get his second kill of the game.
Good job. That's a great punish. That's red buff now here for Xiaohu as well. Double summoner spells. And so advantage, again, going over to Webo. It looks a little silly. It's kind of all over the place. But if you can kind of destabilize this lane, Xiaohu is now 2 levels over Doinb. He's almost level 6. Doinb's just about to hit level 4. This is an insane lead for the mid laner of Webo. As we take a look at this replay, I think the second invade was a little grief from Tian, but eventually they get there.
Yeah, it ends up working out for him. You know, with Xiaohu having this major lead, right? Like, I guess all's well that ends well, all right? As Doinb did pick up kill number 2 here after that red buff burned him away. Nice to see that you know, we had questions about what both of these mid laners were going to look like. Hey, they're both got 2 kills under their ledger, right? This is pretty good.
And we'll kind of see how this ends up kind of affecting the rest of the map as Doinb hitting level 6 for, or sorry, Xiaohu hitting level 6 first, I think is a really big breakpoint for them. Him being able to just clear this wave, use the Foxfire, and move around is going to open up Webo for a lot of plays. And if they're going to continue to split the map vertically with Webo taking over the top side, they can just keep making dives onto Shanji. No summoner spells for him. He only has the public execution. And you kind of see the big thing for me is they don't know where ppgod is. He gets pinged out, but he is on his way, as is Aki.
All right, Shanji, what can he do with the public execution? Trying to make creative moves, turns on to Xiaohu and uses it to escape that gank.
Okay, ppgod gets spotted here. Jinx is by himself. This will be alone time for Leaf to hit this bottom lane wave. As soon as Lulu and Zeri show, however, probably is going to kind of incentivize him taking this last wave on bottom lane as Jinx and then moving into mid, taking back control. Doinb's probably going to be holding on bot lane after they make this rotation. This will be 3 grubs going over to Webo, which is not bad. They have had some time to hit turrets, but for the most part, pretty healthy, all things considered. It's mostly just a lot of chip damage in the mid lane.
Yep, and you know, it's just because of those waves getting shoved in and, you know, the kills happening. There was a large bulk of that damage was that mid lane gank. And now that Xiaohu is level 7 and does have that Ahri ultimate available, we already saw him try to make a play up top. And really interested to see him make plays to really push Webo into the driver's seat, into a really good position of strength, because there are members that you can pick off, and now you might have enough damage to chunk out somebody who you find a little.
Like this from Shanji, playing a little bit aggressive. They're going to try to lane swap their bottom lane into Shanji, recognizing that with Lulu, definitely becomes a lot easier. Hitting that level 6 soon as well for Lulu with the wild growth is going to add a lot of protection for this Zeri. Almost feels like it's going to have to come down to light here in this game. But playing into Jinx, it's all about, can you kind of get rid of Jinx and all of her front line before she's able to get excited and really put damage onto you? They're going to rotate this, but this will be a loss of plates, or a loss of gold here in particular, in favor of Webo. So gold allocation not too bad from them.
Yep, not bad at all. So they're just trying to keep things relatively stable. You see there's very tiny gold leads for the Webo top lane and mid lane, as the CS differential has been pretty strong here. You know, and that's just been through that early mid-tiff, but also that 1v1 in the top lane. Shanji has not been able to actually take a foothold in this game.
I think it's fine. Shanji will have a pretty big item wake up on 1, so
yeah,
once he finishes his Eclipse, feeling pretty good. We're seeing that Webo are constantly swapping. Seems like they are, at the very least, trying to dodge Jinx, and, you know, at most, just making NIP a little bit dizzy and saying, like, we're going to constantly swap on you. We're going to make sure that you are always recalling after 1 wave, so you can't stay out onto the map, and if you are, then we're going to try to abuse you on an opposite side. Push 1 wave. Looks like they're feigning towards mid, but are going to go back towards the bottom lane. And with teleports back for both of our mid laners here, I am kind of looking probably going to be either this wave or the next wave that comes out of base that we're going to be seeing our AD carries trying to find recalls and playing for the second set of grubs.
Yep, or this dragon, right? Because this dragon's up in 1 minute and 10 seconds, so, you know, where they send the first, well, who takes the recall first and where they go will be quite telling here. We do see Tian hanging up on the top side, just chilling out, trying to clear some wards out. Aki's up there too, so nobody really in any danger, as we could just be in the AD carry scaling waiting room. Alk.
I think we are. I think we kind of signed up for that when we saw Zeri Lulu versus Jinx.
Yeah,
So.
you know, sometimes things go a little crazy, right? Xiaohu and Doinb do have the ability to take over the game themselves, but, you know, I didn't think we'd be trapped here.
Okay, Tian gonna try to make a play. Does have flash, does have the ultimate as well. Okay, just forces out the summoner spell from Doinb. So up to Tian now with the early and kind of strong push of this Ahri. Are they going to be looking towards top side or trying
Lightning
to
crash.
bail out?
Knockouts
Ooh,
are there.
good
ppgod
cancel.
got interrupted. He's got to sprint away, but ppgod is actually quite slow right now. Light continues to rifle away, and the flash gets burned.
That's double summoner spells. They're going to have to continue to retreat here from the side of NIP. Ari also on the way over will finally get spotted by a control ward in the bottom lane brush here. That's gold going over. Those are good summoner spells as well. There's a trade of flash and heal on ppgod for a single heal and both of the ultimates of Weibo's bottom lane. That's going to be the trade. Instead of going and trying to stack for dragons, instead they're going to just split the difference, 1 dragon apiece and 3 grubs for each team.
All right, Alk. What do you think seems more likely? This game going over 35 minutes or under 35 minutes?
Oh, for sure over 35 minutes. I'm sorry, dog. Call out of work.
I can't. I'm the only supervisor in the office after a certain point, so I gotta be there. It's okay. I don't mind that point. I don't really care. You know, if I cared that much, I wouldn't have signed up to do this, man. You know, Light trying to get that second plate. Did you get it? All right, he got it.
Yeah, he got it there at the very end there. Tian's going to smite. He's going to secure a couple of more camps here and should be looking for a recall. If not, he's... Yeah, okay. I was going to say he should have his Heartsteel already. And look at Aki, and he's already done. So it's going to be a slow game here, folks. We're probably not going to get too much action. Probably not going to get too many kills. I think we're going to get a lot of action, but that depends on whether or not we get to see this Zeri Lulu actually finalize some kills. Does Leave? Yep, Leave gets that turret plate. So it's going to be a battle of resources. Which team is better at being able to get gold and XP onto their hyper carry? How are they squeezing summoner spells and getting some objectives before fights? Because I'm looking at this, you know, the next 4 minutes, and everything is going to be up for both teams. So within the next 2, what I want to see from either of them is how are we getting either a flash or some kind of summoner spell, whether it's from Doinb or from Leave. And if we're on the side of Webo, like, can we potentially try to look for forcing out Ari Flash and Ultimate? Or is Urha going to be watching necessarily very closely with his Wild Growth?
Oh, well, we might get something burnt here.
Heartsteel, bro.
Actually ends up not being that much. Yep, just Heartsteel.
Plus
We'll
17.
17 to nothing. Come on, Tian, you got to step your game up, man. Can't be out Heartsteel proc like that, but... Yeah, you know, there are opportunities, right? There are champions that you can, you know, you have abilities that you can use to try and burn some of these, right? You know, I look at the Skarner Impale. You know, if you're able to get close to one of these targets, you can force out their summoners. And given the fact that you're able to take creative pathing because of what Skarner can do going through walls, I'm just kind of surprised that we haven't seen as much of that this early on.
Well, he did spend a large portion of his early game trying to get a red buff from Aki. So
yeah, you know, you're right.
Something,
but I am going to
judge
a little
him
bit
there. Sure. So I think it is so much easier for Webo to actually get onto this back line for
there you go.
Leave and ppgod. I mean, even if Leave does have both of his summoner spells, right? Like, you just make a play onto him, you trade maybe an ultimate 2 minutes before an objective, and now he doesn't have flash. Whereas for Webo, you look at the Zeri, and Zeri can just use her jump, right? Like, just jump over a wall, get out of position, reposition in a fight. She also has this Lulu, which provides a lot of direct shielding and healing as well. So it is easier for Webo to kind of peel for their team, but on the opposite side, I think NIP have a much easier job of doing this.
Urha gets healed, but goes down anyway. Good catch there as Aki gets the party started.
Okay, they go for the weak member, saying, look, probably if we go on to Zeri, probably going to just be able to get out of that. So take out the support, open up some space for ourselves. No one is picking up this bottom lane wave, and so it is going to be a slight loss there, but getting that gold onto Leave definitely feels a bit nice for NIP. Just don't know how much it actually changes about the game, because we are going to be missing some of these ults before the Herald, and I'm kind of looking at this dragon in minutes halftime, and you didn't really get much off of it.
Nah, not at all, but you know what, you'll take the kill in your back pocket if you are. Leave that gets you a little bit closer to getting that Infinity Edge second. The boots are completed for him as well, so all still quiet after that one play, but you know, maybe another one happens in the next, what, minute or minute and a half, and then it starts to compound and build upon itself Rift Herald up in about 20 seconds. Doesn't really look like any team's particularly interested in it quite yet.
15 seconds before the Herald, 50 seconds before the Dragon. And Webo are going to have first say in this river. Which is interesting to me, mostly because of the fact that when you are playing against Jinx, she typically just has a lot easier times clearing waves. I kind of like this from Leave. We talked about how we're delegating resources. Leave just straight up took Aki's Raptors and then just also picked up this mid wave. So he already has a 30 CS lead over his opponent. They both went Cull. Now we'll see what is Weibo going to be able to do with a Herald here. Should be able to look for mid-tier 1, but with not that many Void Grubs, it's going to be particularly tough with how much HP this objective has.
Yeah, it could force some action. We'll see if that's actually going to be the case. But you're right. You know, 3 grubs only, not going to move the needle too much. Although you could crack that bottom lane turret if you really wanted to.
Maybe if they... I guess you could try to do that. I think mid-tier 1 for making sure that Leave has to be really shallow and where he's allowed to hit the minion waves is, in my mind, a little bit more important, especially for how important it has been for mid-priority to be in this series. Is we kind of see Weibo, they can't enter, so we are just going to hit mid and then maybe walk top, let breathe. Oh my god, Xiaohu with the ultimate just is barely out of range there of the Sejuani ultimate.
Yeah, that is a big tool that is now down, but that does mean that Aki is missing his large engage tool. I don't think ppgod is too keen to go in yet, as I think that NIP very well to understand that things are okay. Shanji TP's behind, breathe, trying to get that push in, and maybe got a little bit too greedy. He is going to drop the equalizer onto Shanji and is now overheated, so turning around, but the public execution comes through. ppgod shows up, puts him in the bounce house, and then Shanji puts him in the dirt.
Ah! He's out of there. Okay, he's gonna go again. We're going again. Come on, Tian.
Oh my god, what happened?
What the hell, man? Well, we just wait. Okay, as funny as that is, we just completely wasted the Herald there.
Oh my god. All right,
What the hell, Tian?
Right, so I think he was afraid of when he made contact, landing on the Jinx traps.
You're playing Skarner. Who the hell cares?
Listen, I'm not defending him. I'm just saying what I think I saw. Yes, bro. Why did we go for the Rift Herald if we were gonna do that? And then on the way back around, he just crashed into the wall anyway. My goodness. I feel like I've entered the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. Minor advantage here for Weibo found as they were able to grab themselves the feats of strength with Xiaohu in the bottom lane. No, dude. Okay, like, I get it here, but like, now that the traps have already faded, just do it here. Just crash into the turret. What the?
Take away this man's driver's
player
license.
cam. Yeah, there's the fan cam.
Bro.
I'm glad they're having fun. I'm glad the fans are having fun. You know, part of this is that we are playing a children's game, so might as well.
Oh man, that's ridiculous. That's so great. You come out here, you show up on stage, you won a world championship, and now
that's
people
my world
are laughing
champion
at
right
you.
there. That is my
Life
world
comes
champion
at you
right there.
fast, Tian. Life comes at you fast.
Okay, well, we're getting back into this game, and from this position, gold pretty even across the board, but I'm looking at who these carries are, and I will say, as much as Leave has a pretty massive individual lead over his counterpart with now an Infinity Edge finished in comparison to the Yuntal plus Runons from Light, Xiaohu is about to have a fully stacked Rod of Ages and a Leandries. If there was ever a game where I needed him to carry this for Weibo, it has to be this one. His entire job is get into the back line, blow up Leave, blow up Doinb, and make it so that NIP have no chance here to succeed.
All right, we're going to get the party started on Aki here, using that Impale, knocking him up too. He turns around for the stomp, but it doesn't matter. Light gets that kill as Xiaohu takes Leave really, really low.
And breathes here as well. Xiaohu's going to try and fish for some more damage.
Like equalizer.
Oh, he's dead. Leaves down.
Enough he is. And he can't get the ult off either. He will fall. The turret will fall into the mid lane as well. Good job by Weibo.
And when we were talking about Tian drunk driving, I think it was only just the Herald, because here with the Skarner, he finds Aki, pins him to the wall, and opens up the game here for Weibo. As those two picks grab them a mid-tier 1 finally, and it gets them the Otacon, which will give them false lives here going in for the next 2 minutes, so that they can play either for the next dragon or more. So really good opener there for the side of Weibo, and I just like, hey, we're Skarner ulting, good layering of the CC between the wild growth and Xiaohu eventually being able to get all this damage. And because they're able to take this turret so fast, we get to just see Breeze drop this ultimate thanks to the vision provided by his mid laner.
Yep. Yeah. Who knew that you would use the last dash of Ahri ultimate to give that little bit of extra vision? Good stuff there. The walking ward, Xiaohu doing a little bit more than that this game, though. And Tian, so glad that he decided, hey, man, we could just fight, you know. And Weibo has maybe found that a little bit of aggressiveness that they can have in this game. And as you mentioned, the false life bounce available. Dragon up in about 5 seconds as Weibo has full control over this room.
Yeah, gonna just be the dragon here going over to Webo unless NIP feel like they can try to make a play, but Alistar's taking a recall. This looks tough here. Webo now in a pretty precarious position just because of the fact that, yes, they have a gold lead here, but this game doesn't get any easier from this point. Like, Shanji has just now finished a Spear of Shojin, and Doinb in 2 minutes time is going to have the Rod of Ages, so he's going to be particularly difficult to take down. And all of this gold that we were talking about that went over to Leave has started to equalize as Light has getting more and more of this farm.
All right, let's see if they want to trade the false life buff for good damage on a turret. It is still available for them for 45 more seconds. We've seen a lot of teams do that, you know, over-index trying to get a lot of damage on one of these structures and then come back a little bit later and knock it down. It looks like that's what Weibo is aggressively positioning for. Assuming a Death Rocket did land, only does a little bit of damage, but Tian is taking really low. Shockwave only lands onto him, and he's going to withdraw. Aki dies, and over on the backside, Xiaohu sliding in and out. ppgod forced to heal to survive, so it ends up being a 1-for-0 tank.
And Otacon doesn't even give Jinx her reset, so that's a pretty big power spike going up against them. Shanji will have traded this for a bottom or a top lane tier 2, so more global gold going over to try to equalize this game. And Yanni, this feels like an appropriate game 3, right? It's still got a little bit of action. We've got some scaling that we're looking forward to, and it's not like, oh, we've got Poke Varus versus like an Ashe or a Misfortune. Just good old-fashioned AD carries walking you down and having some kind of either an enchanter or like a really big wall to build for your AD carries.
Exactly, and this is the game that you love to have as an AD carry, right? When you have all of these resources available to you and you know that you should have enough space to be able to operate, right? The late game fantasy that's talked about so much. Light and Leave are living it right now. And we'll see which one of them comes out on top. Because it's always devastating to lose these sorts of games, and you know, as we mentioned, for what it means for Weibo and NIP as a whole, you know, Weibo, it's still early, but this does feel like a must-win series.
I mean, you look at their record right now, they're 1-3. They have a pretty abysmal scoreline right now, and a team that wants to be able to push for a top 6, even top 4, needs to be putting up wins on the board. That's kind of the reason why they did make a change in their support position. And we've talked a lot about Leave, you know, the fact that he was an EDG homegrown talent, eventually made his way over finally to NIP this year. But Light is a player that has a lot of veteranship. You would think that a player that has kind of been around for such a long time has really been able to experience a lot of the high highs, hasn't been able to pick up a trophy, originally coming over from LNG, and kind of has made his name as one of the top 4 AD carries in the region for the past couple years. And only recently has he really gotten a lot of experience going international, especially on some of those LNG rosters. So it'll be really cool to see for Light and the rest of Weibo whether or not they can kind of pull and right the ship together, because they have so much experience between the 4 members that we saw from just the starting roster in 2025.
Yeah, this is a team that's meant to go international. This is a team that is meant to just rip it. They do not care right now. They said, hey, let's start up this Baron. Let's draw NIP to us. Xiaohu is going to be the one trying to play goalkeeper and keep them away. Shanji looks like he's starting to move toward them. Tian going all the way in. Charm lands on Leaf, but an instant cleanse. But they throw so much on Leaf. He burns away and dies. Xiaohu, he got to that back line. And Shanji is mired in the muck up front. Just like you said, AlkBattery, he needs to be the guy, Xiaohu.
He's not, I mean, Xiaohu found all of that damage onto Leave, the equalizer as well. We talked about it from draft. This was going to be a hard game to play Orianna, and in the same way, it's going to be a hard game to play. Can Aki make the steal?
Aki? No, he cannot. And he's forced to flash, but then he gets charmed, and he does not get out. Then the Sword of Deception kills him. It's a 4th kill for Xiaohu, and full control for Webo.
And a necessary step-up game for Xiaohu, who has been criticized all year long for misperforming, for not necessarily being the Tiger King of Spring that we know him for. But the 5-star general, he stands up proud, and he stands to win his team this game. As a replay going into this Baron, I mean, it's good blocking from ppgod, but he has to stop Tian. Leave has already been dealt the damage, and all this burn coming through from Leave and from Breathe, or from Breathe and Xiaohu. Nothing that NIP can do in this fight. It was actually Doinb that did the most damage in that fight for NIP, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, he had a great shockwave, but Leave was already so forced out, and without him, your comp kind of collapses, right? Shanji has a fair amount of damage, but I don't think has enough to be able to go in and be in a 1v4 situation and actually be able to do anything of note. Now the siege is on AlkBattery. They're fishing for charms. Here's the public execution. There's the shockwave. There's a great play coming through for NIP. 2 members are down. The resets are there. Leave gets another kill. What a play.
But can they find more, and what are they going to be able to get for this? It's going to be a Dragon going over to NIP. A little bit more time in this game. It is 3-item AD carries coming on through for both teams here. And a lot of gold now being swung over to Leave. This game is so back and forth. A single catch being able to equalize this game only feels right, but it is still 3,000 gold here for Webo.
And it is sole point for NIP. We talked about in a prior game how impactful that Hextech Soul could be, especially for a champion like a Jinx who can hit you from long range and slow you up. Take a look at this replay. Snappy for NIP.
The fact that this lands with 0 crowd control beforehand, right into the Shockwave and the Jinx ultimate. Great coordination, and the fact that they're able to find that kind of feels like a second life here for NIP, where this game had been so difficult for them to play. They lost around the Baron, and that could have been the shutout play that we look back in the highlights for to see a Weibo win. NIP make a very, very important fight happen, get those 3 members, and still they are down the hole, and you have this Baron at least for one more mini wave. There's a very high likelihood that they can try to look for an additional play here. Oh my god, Tian!
Tian is stuck, but he manages to get 2, and they stick him on a skewer. The knockups are there too. Super Mega Death Rocket does enough damage, but do they actually get resets? Leave is trying to get in there.
The Shockwave doesn't land!
Alive. Here's Leave. He's trying to make it happen, but he's down to half. Xiaohu doing it again, sliding in and out and surviving and taking out the carry.
Light and Urha finally get a team fight where they can fight, and the solo laners again for Webo come up clutch. NIP, they're trying their damnedest to be able to win this game, but teleports in from 2 of the solo laners. This might be it. 30-second death timers, and it's just Shanji.
NIP got back up in that mid lane fight, and Weibo Gaming said, we're going to put you right back down, as they are on the Nexus turrets. Weibo Gaming, if they find a way, if they turn it around, this is the turning point. This game, as the second Nexus turret will fall, and ppgod is trying to buy time. The public execution. Aki's coming out of the fountain, but it might be a little bit too late. Xiaohu's autoing the Nexus. Leave is here, but Breathe and Xiaohu will kill the Nexus, and Weibo Gaming in a thriller take the series 2-1.
an insane performance from these two. We said that we wanted to see Xiaohu step up and be the general. He makes good on that promise. And finally, Weibo are able to bring home yet another win, their second series win in Split 2 of the LPL. A dangerously close game up until the 20-minute mark.
They can finally breathe. Okay. They are not down in the depths. They are a good enough team. They still have it in them. We knew based on name value, there was no question there. But on the Rift, the results hadn't been it. Getting a win over NIP, hesitate to call it a signature win, but I will call it an important one. This is big, and now Weibo, they still have tests ahead, right? Obviously, it being a double round robin and everything like that. They're, week 4 of their next game? I know you'd mentioned it before. Yeah, it's against JDG on Monday. That's going to be a tough one. That is, all right, this is hey, Weibo, you're back. Monday is going to be, okay, Weibo, you might be back, but are you actually good?
Yeah, that'll be a big test. I think the fact that they're still struggling with NIP, and that is, for fans at home, I think this is kind of the NIP that you're going to have to either love or hate. They are a famously inconsistent team, and something that I had penned really early on was NIP are most likely going to be our benchmark for top 6. They're a team that very famously can have really great performances, but I think against some of the other top teams in the league, they fall short in ways that are quite predictable, especially when we talk about Shanji and Aki in their games. Even Doinb sometimes not necessarily being able to step up with how important mid is in this patch. So sucks to see for NIP. It's going to be back to the drawing board. They are 2-2. They are literally a 50% team. They're a 500 team. 5-5 is their game score. They're going to end 6th right now when I finish updating these graphics, but this is the NIP that you signed up for when you have a Doinb team, unfortunately, guys.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Interesting to note, Weibo is still behind them. Weibo is 2-3 and then 5-7 in game score, so still behind them for now. Still work to do, but obviously, as we've talked about, there is much more League of Legends to play. But a win for Weibo here, very, very important moving forward to try and stop this skid, which they were able to do. And you know, I have to say, once the pedal hit the floor, they looked pretty good. I like that NIP was able to fight back though, and that is concerning for Weibo. But it feels like when they're ready to pull the trigger, it is still precise.
I'm really excited because I want Xiaohu to find success.
Yes.
He is one of the most legendary players, not just in this league, but internationally.
Yeah.
I think he is one of the players that, if you ask any modern or even prior, watching LOL esports player, they're going to know of and about Xiaohu at the very least.
Yeah.
So when a legendary player has seasons where he's not that great, definitely hurts the league, especially for what Xiaohu has represented for so long. But it's games like these where we can kind of see that he still has it in there, but I just don't. I am worried that it shouldn't have to take this much to bring it out of him.
Yeah,
right?
It looked like it took a lot of
You've
effort.
played for so long. You have a lot of the muscle memory of just playing so many games, having some of the most games played of any LPL player. We need to see him being able to perform like this from game 1.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, if this guy wants to win a 4th MSI title, he's tied for the most, and really concerningly, he's obviously, this is a long way away. He's attended the last 8 Worlds, and seeing him not at Worlds would be very, very disappointing. Now, obviously, like I said, very far in the future, but these are things you have to think about because this is a team that we expected to be really, really strong and really, really hot from the jump, and they just have not. Now, I have to say, I don't think there's going to be too much discussion. It's got to be Xiaohu for the MVP, right? I mean, this guy was instrumental in this game.
If it's not him, then it's going to be Breathe. Like, Breathe did so much work on this Rumble. But I really do feel it has to be him. And I want to give a special shout out to the new support of Webo.
Yes.
There are a lot of questions here for whether or not he was going to be a worthy replacement. Obviously, Hung has kind of gotten a lot of experience playing on specifically that LNG roster with Scout and Zika. But here I feel like a pretty rightful kind of benching for the time being. Hopefully we can kind of see him return in some form or fashion with a higher level of performance. And Urha, just really exciting so far. The fact that we got this Lulu performance from him, even the engage games, I know that the Rel one we weren't as high on him for, but that first game felt definitely on point. And I loved that when we got out of the game and we're kind of seeing the player cams as the Nessus explodes, Urha's like the first person to be like super excited, because this is one of his first games playing in the LPL, and being able to help not only a team that we said was already super dysfunctional to begin with, but being able to break a pretty big losing streak for them is very important and has to feel good.
Yeah, great for team morale, and as you said, he looked pretty good today. Not too bad. Oh, I didn't see that in that fight. That shockwave.
Yeah.
Just didn't, you know.
That was the tough shockwave that I feel like if that lands, like you see how low a lot of these HP bars are, maybe breaks the game. But that's kind of what you sign up for. That's unfortunately a Doinb Classic, and it sucks. I'm kind of sad for NIP. I'm a big Doinb and Leaf fan, obviously, but Webo just ended up playing a lot better, especially in that third game.
Yup, and in the first game too, when they went up, you know, it was aside from that early part, it was quite strong. So I have to say, there were a lot of times where Webo looked very good. Xiaohu, very deservedly getting our player of the game. Well, everybody, after a long day of the LPL, that is it for us today. But that's not it for us, obviously, as a whole, because we have so many games every day. We will see you tomorrow for TT and NIP, and then IG versus JDG. Alk, you'll be on the cast with Mazel for that one, so you'll get to enjoy nice IG versus JDG. But you can go rest up, and before we go, big shout-outs to our Elite Coffee supporters, Aaron, Soup, and Mung. Your pledged financial contribution helps us level up the broadcast and give back to the cast and crew who try to give you an excellent LPL English product every day. Please support us on coffee. Shout out to those guys. We're out for the day. We'll see you tomorrow.